Welcome, tennis fans, to the 8th episode of Tennis Traverse, Exploring the Game, the podcast that delves into the heart of the tennis world. I'm your host, Ivy J. And in today's episode, we'll talk about everything related to Naomi Osaka and how she became my favorite player. Before I start, please make sure to give my podcast a rating on a platform you're using to listen to my podcast right now. And if you're listening on YouTube, please make sure to like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel, as well as email me or DM me on Instagram and Twitter, or comment on the YouTube video of anything I can do to improve my podcast, or just any comments in general. And without further ado, let's get right into today's episode. So I may sound a little weird because I've been dealing with a minor cold for the past few days, but now I'm feeling way better, but apologies if my voice still sounds a little bit weird. And I made this podcast because October 16th is Naomi's birthday, and this podcast is going to be released on Naomi's birthday. So I just want to tell you guys everything about my favorite tennis player. I think if you just know me as a person, you'll know that I love Naomi Osaka. It's included in my introduction to people. I'll be like, my favorite tennis player is Naomi Osaka. I play tennis. So I'm just really obsessed with her. And if you ask anyone that I'm friends with, they'll tell you that I'm obsessed with Naomi Osaka. And because she's going to be on tour again after her pregnancy, I feel like it's important for me to talk everything about her and why I adore her so much. So I'll start with her upbringing first. So Naomi Osaka is born in Osaka, Japan, hence her name, and she had one older sister whose name is Mary Osaka. Mary was also a tennis player, but now she's more into fashion design and drawing, and she's really talented. You guys should follow her on Instagram. And her mother is Japanese and her father is Haitian, so she is of mixed ethnicity. And she is basically playing for Japan, even though she moved to Florida and started playing tennis when she's 3 years old. And I've just read so much about her that I'm not using any script, so I apologize if it sounds a bit all over the places, but I'm trying to go in a chronological order. And basically when she was young, she played tennis because her sister played tennis, and she played tennis trying to beat her sister. However, she failed almost every single time, except I remember it is when she turned 16 that she's like, oh my god, I can actually beat my sister. And because her father trained her all along, just like Serena Williams, she has a close relationship with her father. And when Naomi Osaka doesn't have an actual coach on the professional tour, her dad will sometimes take over and be her coach. So that's basically Naomi's upbringing. And her most notable victory, in my opinion, is 2018's US Open. So she actually stunned everyone by beating Serena Williams in the final of US Open, of course, but it was really dramatic because Serena was accused by the Empire of receiving coaching, and Serena was really mad about it. And practically everyone was on Serena's side, of course. I love Serena, and it's because Serena was trying to get her 24th Grand Slam, and because she's also from the United States, so everyone was just rooting for Serena, and they started booing. I don't think they're booing at Naomi. I think they're just booing at the whole situation, and mostly I think it's for the Empire. And Serena called in the whole tournament directors. It was just really messy, but I wasn't awake when that happened because obviously I was back in China, so I didn't wake up extra early to see that match. However, when I received the news that Naomi actually won, I was just really confused because I didn't even know who Naomi Osaka was. So I started to look at the match highlights. I was like, wait a second, I actually love the way she plays tennis. And when I looked at the trophy ceremony, whatever, she was crying because of all the booze, and she thought the booze was coming to her. And I felt so bad for her because she was just out there. She was only 18, trying to win her biggest win in her career, and everyone was booing at her. Well, she thought everyone was booing at her, so I felt really bad for her. But also, I was like, okay, I'm gonna look out for her in the 2018 China Open because I lived in China at that time and I went used to go to China Open every single year. And then we saw her play, and at first, not gonna lie, I wasn't really impressed because I think it's all the pressure of winning US Open that she really wasn't playing that well. She had a lot of unforced error, but her balls were just super fast. And I was really impressed about that. But I remember that she was out, I think, in round three or round four. She didn't make it really far. So I was like, actually, I think she's a little bit young. I think she needs more time to grow. That's how I thought about it. Oh, so wait, I'm sorry that if my microphone is picking up any wind noises. It's really windy and it's really cold, so there might be some background noise, but let's continue. So, and then in 2019, I think it was Australian Open, and I don't remember much from that tournament. All I remember is watching her semifinal, I believe, and she was down a lot, and she like fall. I think it's yeah, she fall, and then I was just like, oops, she fell. And then and the umpire was like, are you okay? And she said no. It was just really funny. And she was really sarcastic. And I was like, wait, I love her personality. So I started going on YouTube and Google Chrome to search up Naomi Osaka. And there's this highlight. I think I'll leave the link down below, which is all Naomi Osaka funny moments. I watched that so many times. I was like, oh my god, she's such a funny person in general, and I love her vibe. She's just like really sarcastic, and I was like, I would love to be friends with her. And that's when I was like, actually, I don't think I just love her for her tennis skills. I think I also like her as a person. That sounds weird. Anyways, and then I was like, okay, I might actually want to follow her journey throughout. So I watched the Australian Open final. So she won the first set against Petra. Well, Petra's really impressive, and I admire Petra Kvitova so much because she's been through a lot. And she, Naomi won the first set. However, she lost the second set. She was up a lot, but then Petra came back. And I was like, okay, Naomi's probably not gonna win this just because she's just still really young and she was up the second set and then she got turned over and lost the second set. So I was like, it's gonna be a real battle in the third. However, I feel like she managed to calm her mind despite still being so young, and she won that Australian Open title. And I was so happy for her because winning the Australian title meant that she was world number one. I'm just so proud of her, and I don't know. I was like, oh my god, this tennis player I love is actually doing so well. And I just started being obsessed with her, obviously, but I didn't create my fan page just yet. And then came Roland Garros and Wimbledon. Something to note about Naomi is that she's really, really good at hard court, but she's comparatively less well on clay courts and grass court, most obviously on grass court, but she didn't really have a good season, I guess, for clay swing and grass swing. But I think that at that time I was like, wait, I don't think she's doing that well. But now I'm just used to it because I don't know, she's always not doing that well on those surfaces, and I really hope that when she comes back she'll do really well on those two surfaces. And then came the US Open where she was the defending champion, and I was like, oh my god, she better win this. But I know it's gonna be really hard because it's just super hard for any players in general, especially when you're young, to win US Open, obviously. So I was rooting for her, and one thing that made me super into her is when she beat Coco Gauff, and Coco Gauff was crying just because Coco Gauff's really young too, and Naomi act as like a mature bigger sister, and she calmed her down in front of the crowd and told Coco Gauff to speak in front of the crowd. And I was like, Naomi is such a good person as well, and it just adds more to my obsession. And even though she lost, I was like, she's playing really well. I'm just happy. And this is, I think, really different from how I will react if it's other players. I think if it's another player that I love really well, if she lost, I will be relatively sad. But for Naomi, it's like, okay, she tried her best. I still love her either way, you know? And then it comes to China Open, which I came. And then it was super funny because she actually won China Open and I actually got her autograph for the first time. She was practicing against Caroline Wozniacki and I saw her. I was like, I better get her autograph. And my mom helped me. We were both like sticking out our arms with this big tennis ball that I talked about previously. And then Naomi signed it. I was so happy. I was shaking. I almost cried. And then came the final. She was playing against Ash Barty. I love her. Ash Barty. Anyways, so she was playing against Ash Barty and I was like, she better win. And actually I got a ticket to go to like the lower seats, which are like seats that's obviously better, and it's the final, so I was just super excited. And she lost in the first set, I believe, and then I was like, she better come back. And then because China Open allowed coaches to come in and talk to her, she talked with her dad, and then she figured something out. I don't know what, but she started playing extra well, and she ended up coming back and beating Ash Barty. So I was there when she won a title. I was super happy for her. I was just super ecstatic that she won China Open because I was there obviously and I'm just super happy for her. And then I decided to make a fan page. I was like, okay, you won a title in front of me and I love you so much that maybe I should just make a fan page because you're still really young and I just want to spread information about you so that more people will like you because she has a really enjoyable personality and I feel like she deserves more. So I made a fan page for her in 2020. And that's the year where COVID hit. So it was just a really funny year. But Naomi had actually a successful season that year. So in Australian Open, she played well, in my opinion, but she lost in round three against Coco Gauff. And a lot of people called it a rematch from before. And not gonna lie, I agree with what's it called. And I don't know, I just felt really bad because I thought she was gonna win. And she has a Netflix documentary. You guys can go look it up. She was preparing really hard for it, so I just felt really bad for her, but still, I still love her either way. And then we're just gonna skip the whole clay and grass because it practically didn't happen because of COVID. And then it came the US Open where everything was quarantined. The players were in a bubble. And that is also the year in which I believe the Black Lives Matter situation happened. So, in the tournament before the US Open, I believe it was Cincinnati, Naomi actually withdrew from the tournament to support Black Lives. And I felt super, I don't know, like admiration for her because none of the players did that and she was the first player to ever do that. So I just felt really happy for her that she did something like that. And it just proved to me once again how Naomi Osaka was different from every other player. Sorry if that sounds a bit cliche, but yeah. And then came the US Open, and I was just really curious about what she's going to do to support Black Lives Matter. And in first round, she came in with a mask that have the name of a Black Lives Matter victim written on it. And I was like, wait, that's so smart. It's a great way to spread awareness because everybody's gonna who watched the US Open is going to obviously look at the name and look into it. And she turned out to have 7 matches for all 7 times she came out, each with a different name. And I was like, that's so thoughtful. I love her for it. And she managed to go all the way and then win the whole US Open. However, I'll just go back to talking about the mask issue first. So I remember the scene vividly when the interviewer was like, 7 matches, 7 different masks. What's the message you're trying to send? And Naomi was like, what's the message that you guys got? is more of the question. And that just resonated so much with me. And it just made me think of how Naomi is just such a wonderful person. And her thoughts is beyond mature. And the way that she's able to use her position to spread awareness is just super admirable, in my opinion. And then let's talk back to the match. So I was in China at that time, obviously. But then I remember that I woke up at 4 o'clock just to watch her play, and that became a regular when I was in China. But she lost the first set. I was like, okay, she's losing because she lost the first set, I believe was 2-6, but she never lost a Grand Slam final at that point. So I was like, maybe there's hope. And then she came back, obviously, and won the whole thing. And then she lied on court to like, I don't know, to feel the atmosphere. And I was like, that's such a symbolic moment. So I went, when I was visiting the US Open ground, I did the same thing. Okay, fast forward, we're going to talk about 2021 season. So, spoiler alert, she won the Australian Open again. Well, she beat a lot of top players along the way, but one thing that's significant to me is this butterfly that landed on Naomi's, I believe it was her face, and it was now used as a symbol of good luck. And it's just really funny because Naomi came out with a shoe that also has like this pattern of that butterfly. So I don't know, it's just really funny. And then came the whole controversy, and I'm not going to speak too much into it, but basically Naomi said that she is going to not do any press conferences at Roland Garros because of her mental health. And I believe that this is the first time that any player actually refused to do a press conference, and the tournament obviously said no and fined her for saying it. However, in my opinion, it's two ways, right? So obviously, mental health is a huge problem that we shouldn't ignore, and for Naomi doing this, it actually brought light to a bunch of mental health issues, such as Simone Biles also like mental health issues, and it basically symbolized how athletes are not like superhuman. Like they also have the ability to feel sad and feel not good. So Naomi actually raised awareness on this issue, but at the same time, if you're a tennis player, you have to do press conferences. It's not something that you can just skip because of your mental health. So it's two ways, but I supported her through it either way. So she ended up withdrawing from Roland Garros, and then came the Tokyo Olympics. I was so excited for the Tokyo Olympics that day, I believe it was July 23rd. I still remember that day. I was waiting in front of my TV, and then when the Japan people came out, I was like, I'm looking for Naomi. I didn't find her. I was like, maybe she's doing torch, like lighting up the cauldron, right? And then I waited till I think it was like 11 p.m. And then almost everyone before the last torch went up, and there's no Naomi. I was like, where is her? Because on Twitter, a lot of people were like, she might like light the last cauldron. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna wait. And then she came out looking so beautiful and stunning. I was like, wait a second. And then I was just screaming. I was crying. And then she came up to light the cauldron, and I was like, wait, I'm so proud of her. And I think that's when I was like, I am so happy that I stand with her throughout the whole everything, and I'm just really happy that I have a fan page of her because she's just such a successful person that everyone should admire, and she has such fun personality as well. So I was just really happy. However, she lost, but I felt so bad for her, but still at the same time I was really proud of her either way. And then came the 2021 US Open, right? So I was so happy because I'm finally at the US Open and there was fan week. So I was like, I'm gonna get selfies, I'm gonna get autographs. So I checked the practice schedule, and that time I was like, because I have other schoolwork stuff to do. Every time I had to go later in the day, she practiced in the morning. And I missed her every single day, except for the last day. I was like, I have to get her. And she practiced on Louis Armstrong Stadium, which is a bigger stadium. And I feel like it's just, she practiced there so that she could, like, I don't know, more people can get her autographs. And I was like, I have to get her autograph. So I canceled all my classes and I went there for her. And I got her autograph, but I didn't get my selfie. And I'm not complaining because I love her so much, but I don't know. It was just really funny to be up close. And in my mind, I was like, I'm probably the only person to stand that like adores and is so obsessed with Naomi, but I didn't say it because I don't know if it's true or not, but still, it was just really funny. And I was so grateful. Even though she lost in round one against Danielle Collins, it was a great tournament for her. And then 2022 season, she is pregnant. And at that time, I believe I was in school. And when I heard that she was pregnant, I was actually shaking. I was eating lunch. I was shaking. And then I called my mom. I was like, Mom, pick me home. Sorry if I'm a bit dramatic. I was like, Mom, get me home. She's pregnant. I can't deal with it. I really can't. And my mom's like, chill. And I was like, okay. But that day, all I was thinking was she's pregnant. She's gonna give birth. And she did. I was also in school at that time. I was also shaking, but she gave birth to a baby girl named Shai. And I'm just super excited for her and Corday, which is her boyfriend, about what's going to come next. And that basically sums it up. And I don't know. It's just, she's going to play again next season, and I don't know what will happen. I hope she does really well, and I know that she'll get a lot of hate if she doesn't, but I'll always support her no matter what. And my fan page now have like 6,000 followers, and before I was just obsessed with how my fan page is growing. Now I don't really care about it anymore. Not in a way that's bad. I just don't care about the numbers of my followers. I think I support Naomi more as a person because she's just so successful and so thoughtful. Also, she created her own skincare line. She's a fashion model and then she's a fashion designer. And she just has so many sponsors and she's so talented. So I support her really much. And another thing is I have basically everything that she created. Well, not everything because I'm not that obsessed, but I have her tennis rackets, I have her Naomi shirt, I have 3 of Naomi's tennis shoes. So I just love her so much. And by some chance, if Naomi's listening to this, I would literally, I don't know what to say. I'm gonna cry, but I love her so much. And I think this episode is a really good way to show how tennis have such a huge impact on me, because by supporting a tennis player, and I am also a tennis player, it sometimes motivates me, and not just in tennis forms, it motivates me in real life to, I don't know, be a better person, because Naomi is such a wonderful person that sometimes I look up to her, not just as a tennis player, as just a person in general. And this is how tennis has made a huge impact on my life. This episode is basically just me blabbering. It's gonna reach 25 minutes pretty soon, but I'm just so passionate about Naomi, and I think you guys can tell by the way I talked about her. And this is a great episode for people who didn't watch tennis to be like, how much can tennis influence someone? Because I love tennis and Naomi so much that I think it made me a better person. And that, I guess, sums up today's episode. I really hope you guys enjoyed. This one's a bit long because it's about Naomi, of course, but please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you're watching on YouTube, and also make sure to give my podcast a rating on the platform you're using to listen to my podcast right now. And I'm gonna post this thing on Instagram, so please make sure, if you guys can, to add Naomi. I'm gonna hope that she's gonna watch this to see how much I love her, but she's probably not, and it's okay because I love her either way. And last and foremost, I just want to say happy birthday, Naomi. I love you so much. I hope you